Oh, Simon. I'm gonna take off shoes. Gotta take off my shoes. We can't cuddle with my shoes on. Turn on some lights. Oh, those are nice lights. Can you guys watch him for me real quick? Can you just watch him? I'll be right back. Stay there. Stay there. Yeah, he's not even in frame. Hi guys, what's up? Welcome to another reading vlog. Yay! I have been in somewhat of a reading slump the last month. End of October, beginning of this month, because I did upload my TBR kind of late. I haven't like read a physical book in so long. Like even the last book, like The Impossible Life by Matt Haig, I just finished it, but I had to do the last like 20% of the book audiobook. My brain just hasn't been like focusing when I'm reading the text. I actually focus so much better when I hear like all the characterization and different voices of an audiobook. So I really got back into reading those. And honestly, Mari McFarlane pulled me out of my reading slump. All of her books were amazing. Like even my least favorite of hers, which I read just recently, Between Us, was like kind of my least favorite one. But all of her other books, amazing. And I believe that she's Scottish, so all of like the books were they had accents that I really loved, and so those books definitely pulled me out of my reading slump. And today I'm finally ready to get back into a physical book. Now I just started Apprentice to the Villain a couple weeks ago and I just put it down. I was eating this up. Like yeah, I'm like 66 pages in. This is the sequel to Assistant to the Villain. Basically our main character is like the provider for her younger sister, and I believe it's her dad. Her mom went missing or died when she was young and kind of like left her family, so she became the sole provider for her dad and her sister. And so she goes to be she finds herself like in a weird pinch without a job, and the villain saves her and offers her a position as one of his assistants, because he basically has like an office setting for his villainous ways inside a castle. So she goes to be his assistant, and that's the first book. And then through a series of events, they become really, really close and bonded, and she essentially is saving him from the true villain, which is the king. And so we kind of pick up in this book where we left off. The first book leaves off on a cliffhanger, and so the beginning of this book kind of has a really intense start because it picks up right away from like where we left off. And so I loved it. So I ate up the first 60 pages, and now we're kind of getting further into the plot of what this book is about, and I'm loving it. And even though I wanted to read this so bad in October, but then I reminded myself, Hannah, you just love fantasy year round, and it's November, it's still fall, it's still good vibes, and I don't really like the seasonal rom-coms anyway. So we're gonna read this. So my goal for the reading vlog is to get through this book and then move on to my TBR, because I can see it in the corner, and those are some thick books, y'all. Those are some thick books. If you watched my TBR video, it's also gonna be like stuff that I'm looking and I'm seeing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 8 books are gonna make me cry. So, and that's just me guessing. I don't even know about the other 3. And I hope to get to the book club book in this vlog, as well as this book, and maybe one other for my TBR. So that's the goal. I'm gonna get into this, and I'll come back with some updates when I'm further in. Love ya. Hi friends. Let's do a quick little haul / reading update. I just went on an errand, and I went to Barnes & Noble just to get book club book. But of course, that's not all I got. Of course, that's not all I got. Simon, you need to sniff in there so I can move on. Thank you. It's an empty bag. Barnes & Noble, I picked up a couple things. First, I got our book club book, which is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. It is a memoir. However, it was in like the self-improvement section. Whatever that means. I actually don't know anything about this. I just know that it's really popular and got a lot of amazing reviews. And then, of course, our book girlies in Australia read it for their book club, which is what it heavily sways me on a lot of my life decisions. If I'm being honest, I look up to them, and they loved this book, therefore I will love it. I saw that there was a Mad Libs Taylor Swift version, and this was just like $3 or $4, so I'm gonna put it in the Christmas present with for my partner's sister, because she loves Taylor Swift, and I just think this would be a really cute thing to slide into her, you know, present. This is it. This is all I got it for Christmas, was Taylor Swift. Mad Libs, but thought I would share. Oh, it's all wrinkled. Well, I got a derpy copy, but that's okay. I picked up The Ministry of Time. My dog is losing it right now. He's just so excited to be a part of it, huh? Are you so excited to be a part of it? But yeah, yeah, I picked up The Ministry of Time by Colleen Bradley. Should have looked up how to read it, but this is like a sci-fi romance, which sounds good to me, and I know it's gotten a lot of really good reviews. It was $5 off at my Barnes & Noble today. I wish I had gotten this as like an add-on with my book of the month, but then it wasn't an option when I went to buy my next month's copy, if that makes sense. So, Ministry of Time, really want to read that. That's all I got. I refrained, but then I needed to pick up some of my like basic toiletries. So I got like my bronzer, which is, makeup is so expensive. Can we just talk about the fact that makeup for girls is so expensive? Makeup for guys is so expensive. Makeup for people is so expensive, and I don't know why. But I got this new lip oil. I saw one of my volunteers wearing it, and I looked at her and I was like, your lips be amazing. And she's like, don't I know it? Here's my lip liner and lip gloss. Take a picture. Go get it. And I said, thank you for not gatekeeping that. I will go get it. I took a little picture, went to the little Ulta, and I bought it. And I think it looks amazing. And then I picked up my creamy bronzer. Love my creamy bronzer when I ran out. It's Merit Beauty brand, which is amazing. I use all their products. I use their complexion stick, I use their blush, I use their highlight stick, and I just had ran out of my bronzer one, and I was like, let me just use up this powder one that I have. But enough shopping talk, because I'm not a makeup influencer, and none of you really care what makeup products I use. If you care, you can DM me, and I'll send you a picture of everything I just bought today. But Apprentice to the Villain. I've read about 50 pages since we last touched base. It is flying. This book is flying. And something that I remember about Hannah Nicole Mayer is that I never see her plot twists coming. So they always have that like shock value when they happen, when that moment comes where you're like, oh, that's happening? And then you're like, oh, that's happening? And then the next chapter is like always like, and this is how it came to be. It's like a quick shock value and then a quick explanation. And then you're cruising again. And I think she does a good job of like doing that fairly regularly, which is what keeps you engaged. Hey. Sorry, Simon's like ripping at my blanket. Be gentle. Go chew that over there. Leave it. Chew it over there. Chew it over there. Thank you. But I'm still eating this up. I think that it's a really quick read, and the short chapters, like this next chapter is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages long, and that's like long for a chapter. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the next one. Like, they're short chapters, and I love that. That's what keeps me reading, because I'm like, oh, a couple more pages. Oh, just a couple more. Oh, just one more chapter. Like, I'll constantly do that, and then I find that I've read like 100 pages. So, eating this up. Gonna work on this afternoon. I have a couple work little details to get done, but this was supposed to be my day off, and it's not turning into a day off. So, I'm also I am listening to Ninth House? I want to say Seventh House, but no, it's Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Listening to that. And it is way too scary for me, if I'm being honest with you. It's got a lot of ghosty ghoulies and gore. There's a lot of gore, violence, drugs, and some trigger warning for sexual trauma. I knew that going into the book, and yet I was shocked by it every single time. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through that, but I have it on audiobook, so I think while I'm doing chores and some work, I'm going to be listening to that audiobook, and hopefully we'll have a final review of that towards the end of this video as well. So, gotta get some stuff done, work done, Apprentice to the Villain, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I will check back later for a reading update. Might be a bit of a dark shot. I don't know. But hello. How are we? I'm really lounged for this, aren't I? Maybe if I just slide you back a bit. I have some reading updates for you guys. I currently have a migraine that is getting better, but still feels not so good. I got no sleep last night, and that's life sometimes. But I took the morning off of my normal. I usually do like a Bible study, and I go to work, and I took the morning off, so I'm just gonna work from home. until I have to go in person. But all this to say, I got a lot of reading done last night. I did a little bit of audiobook and a little bit of physical book, and then I read an entire book last night and didn't tell you about it. Without further ado, let me show you what we're at. Apprentice to the Villain. I've read a lot more of this. I am on page 260, and I think there's 340 pages. So a little less than 100 pages. I'm about to just finish this right up. You guys probably like, wow, it's taking forever to read this book. It kind of is. But I also haven't been in the mood to hold a physical book in so long. So whenever I read a physical book, I'm way slower than if I read on my Kindle, or obviously audiobook, or reading it on my phone, or I don't know, when it's like a flat surface, I can just like tip, 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 tip. But holding a book and like laying, because I like to lay when I read too, like it just isn't, it doesn't work as well. And I can't make the font as big because I have eye issues, and it's a whole thing. But I was kind of in a not fantasy mood right at nighttime yesterday, so I read a bit of that yesterday, but then I was like, I want to move on to something else on my TBR. If he had been with me. Ha ha ha. If you've read it, you know. If you haven't, you also know. We know in the beginning that someone's going to die. You find that out in the first chapter. And the whole book is just this love story between two childhood best friends, and the back and forth, and this person's relationship, their friendship. There's themes of depression, and trigger warnings. There are suicidal content. There is assault is mentioned. Like, there's just some trigger warnings that you need to look out for. Yeah, I get it. I get the hype. I did cry. So I'm gonna give you my 5. I don't like saving all my reviews to the end. I like to just kind of go for it. So 3.25 stars. That's what I'm giving this book. It was a page turner, and again, super big font, and decently short chapters. So I had the same kind of reading experience as this one. I would say I read about half, a little over half physically, and then I finished it out with the audiobook, which is really good. The audiobook is so good. I sobbed, and I'm really happy to have checked something else of my TBR. I will say this is very YA, so if that's not something that intrigues you, don't go into it, but I do think that this was a pretty good depiction of real teenagers, YA. There's a lot, the miscommunication trope is a big part of this book, and that is usually my least favorite, but I think with teenagers, it tracks. Simon, God bless you. With teenagers, it kind of tracks that there would be a lot of miscommunication, a lot of hormones and feelings and thoughts that they just don't understand, and also a lot of how parenting has impacted them. But 3.25 stars, I really enjoyed this book. And now I'm going to finish Apprentice to the Villain before I go to work. So hopefully I'll have another reading update with you, and then we'll start our final book of this reading vlog. Good morning. So, oh, Simon. Come sit with Mama. Sit with me as I chat. Very good. Gang's all here. So I finished Apprentice to the Villain, and I gave this 4.25 stars. I ate this up and left no crumbs, and in classic Hannah Nicole Maher, I need to just learn how to say her name. Maybe by the time the third one comes out. Anytime she writes, she leaves these cliffhangers at the end, and I think that in this book she did a better job than the first one of leaving I think she did a better job of leaving breadcrumbs in this book. So then at the end, when things were left like untied up, but like literally in the last like 5 pages, she's like, and this and this and this and this, remember this, great, now wait till next year for the book, because I think this one came out in August. I think the third one is also coming out in August. So thanks, Hannah, but also no thanks, Hannah, because I can't wait that long. 4.25 stars. Love. Next, I'm going to be reading our book club book this month. If you're interested, head on over. Link in bio, link in description. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. She is from London. I just kind of started this last night when I was getting into bed, and I read 27 pages, and I think it's like 350, so I plan to just fly through this today. So this is a memoir kind of about all of her experience, like coming of age, like discovering like feelings, and kind of, so far we've only like recapped like her teen years, and she's now going to college. So in 27 pages, we went through adolescence, and I'm sure there's going to be like callbacks, but the way she writes is very quick to read because you kind of skim parts of it, because she goes, and like this, and this, and this, and this. There's a lot of ands, a lot of metaphors, very visual, but also like really quick, and leaves out detail of the story. Like doesn't, like shares the details that are A, important to her, but B, are not necessarily important to plot building because it's a memoir. So it is what it is, you know what I mean? And it's like anybody's memory is like a fractured version of just the events. So she's not painting a totally clear picture, but my guess is she doesn't have a totally clear picture anymore after many, many years. I've heard a lot of good things about it. So far, I'm kind of like, but it should be good. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get into it and read some more this morning. Okay, let's discuss books, shall we? I have finished Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't rate memoirs, but in terms of like my level of like recommending to someone and not like my rating necessarily, I would say 3. Like it's middle tier. Would I recommend it? Would I not? I think her writing is beautiful. Obviously, she's a writer, and a lot of times you run into like memoirs that they have a ghost author or whatever, like yada yada yada. But this is a writer who's telling you their memoir. I think she's so hilarious. I think all of her quips are so funny. I loved getting to know her friends throughout the course of the book. Nothing was in a linear timeline, which I think was kind of hard, but I did listen to about like 100 pages of this on an audiobook, and that made it a lot more clear for my brain as to like what time period I was in, who the characters are. It was just nice having a voice. But her recipes in here, I bookmarked all of them. Love them thoroughly. Will be definitely will be trying the mac and cheese one. That sounds so delicious. I have to do it. And of all the quotes, because this is a pretty, quotable book, this one comes at the end, and I'm going to read it, and it's not a spoiler, I promise. She says, "Inside, we are all 17 with red lips. I once read Lawrence Oliver said, and I agree with him with all my heart." And I do too. And so a lot of her points were like really poignant, and I could resonate with them, even though I have had like a very different life so far. And I would say the middle of the book, around the time that she's like 25 years old, a lot of the stories come from her 25-year-old self. I really resonated with a lot of those stories, and her journey with therapy, her journey with friendships, and describing like friendship love really stood out to me as something that like I've always put on a pedestal and hoped that I was good at. And so I loved all of her stories about her friends and where their love lives have taken them, where their friendships have taken them, and her notes on that. I thought that was so beautifully done. She's a beautiful writer. And there's like sections with like invitations to weddings or baby showers or events or parties, and those are hilarious because it's like read between the lines dialogue. It's like, yes, you'll be coming to this party for this wedding for this person. You have to spend a ton of money, even though they're rich people and you're not rich, but they'll talk behind your back if you don't bring them a gift. Like stuff like that. It was like all this banter, which was so well done, and I loved it thoroughly. I really liked this, really enjoyed it, thought it was beautiful, and would recommend. Also, probably the fastest I've read nearly any book this year, minus Magnolia Parks. That holds the record still. Next, though, I said that was going to be my last book. However, I will be finishing up with The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Hannah still doesn't know how to say her name. Because this has been on my TBR so many times, I have lost count. I've lost count. And so I really want to read this before the end of the year. When I started to get back into my journey of reading books, this book was on every single list, every creator's video, every X, Y, and Z. It was so highly recommended. It was fall vibes, all these amazing things, magical realism, which I've grown to really love as a genre, and I knew I wanted it. So I scooped it up, and it has ever since been on every single TBR, and I just have never reached for it. And when I tell you that this year has been transformative as a creator, I'm someone who, I love graphic design, I love music, I love poetry, I love dance, I love creating things making things, being crafty, just being artsy, sitting alone with my thoughts and imagery and yada yada yada. It's all very romanticized, but hey, I'm here to romanticize life. And so when I got back into my reading journey, I started book club and making some of these videos, I knew that I was a content creator at heart. I'm a creator at heart. I like to create things, whether it's a quilted blanket or a sticker or just a video, you know? It doesn't have to be anything grandiose and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I don't have to be the best at it, but I wanted to get back into the heart of creating. And I thought reviewing books, which I also love, was a way for me to create a different kind of content. And so this year has been so healing and so wonderful for me. And it feels really poignant and special that I put a ribbon on it by actually reading this book. I have a week left of this month, so I gotta get this off the TBR. I have a week left of this month. I have to get this off the TBR. Please, please, please. I will be back with a little bit of a reading update as I get further in. Okay. Hi guys. So before we end this little reading vlog, I thought I would do a recap of everything that we read today. Sorry, I just got home from church, so my dog is like, Mommy's home. Mommy's home. Let's do a recap of everything I read in this vlog. Apprentice to the Villain. This is a sequel to Assistant to the Villain. I ate this up and left no crumbs. Oh, don't knock that down, Simon. He's like a foot away from the tripod and I just see mischief in his eyes. But I loved this. I think I gave this 4 stars. I think I gave this 4 stars or 4.25 stars. Liked it a lot. Wasn't my favorite, but liked it a lot. And really like how the author writes. Next, I read If He Had Been With Me by Lauren Allen. This is definitely a YA book, a really fast read. I don't know if I want to read the next one. I might audiobook the next one, even though I have the second book. But I think it's the same story with a different POV, and I just don't know if that super interests me, if I'm being honest with you. I gave this 3 stars because, yes, it packed like an emotional punch and it made me think things, but it didn't do it for me. Again, it was like teenagers, and I think I'm just out of the phase of life where I can really handle the miscommunication trope. There's a lot of miscommunication trope happening in this book, and that is always hard for me to read because I just want them to talk to each other. Let's just all talk to each other. It's like my least favorite trope because it just gives me like a feeling of anxiety, which I think is what's supposed to happen, like being the outsider knowing that if they just talked, everything would work out. So not my favorite, but 3 stars, quick read, really good writing. Really liked how this author wrote, so maybe I'll have to read something else by her. I don't know what else she has, but I'll look into it. Next book. I don't rate memoirs, but if I did, I would give this 3 again. I really loved everything that she had to say. I thought she was really witty, and I like that it's a true writer writing their memoir, not like a ghostwriter or anything like that. So I think she had really clear voice, clear vision. I didn't love how she jumped around to the different age ranges. Like, I kind of wish the story was told linearly, but I did like how she did end certain chunks with her age mark. So for example, she'd be like, everything I learned about love at age 24. And then she'd run down this list. And I loved it because some of the things she learned at like 28 directly contradicted the things she learned at 24. So that was like fun to read because it was like, wait, didn't she say this like 2 chapters ago that she knew this? And then she said the exact opposite later. It's like, oh yeah, because that's what life is. You're just learning different lessons all the time, and life's messy and contradictory all the time. But I think it was really wholesome and sweet, and I think very vulnerable and a clear voice in this. So I really liked it, and I do recommend this book. I will recommend this book to friends. And did it change my life? No. But did I enjoy it and have a silly, goofy, good time? Yeah, I did. And lastly, I read 7 Year Slip. And let me just tell you guys, I get it. I get the hype, and I think I said this in my other clip. It felt really fitting that I'm coming to the end of the calendar year having read this, because this was one of the first books I bought when I was trying to get back into reading, and I just never picked it up, and it just sat on my shelf. But it means a lot to me. This book means a lot to me and fills my heart with so much joy. I'm going to give this, I believe, 4.25 stars. Again, amazing. Loved it, but there was some cringy aspects, and I mean, it's a romance novel, so can't do anything. But I really like how Ashley Poston writes, and I do love magical realism. I think it's one of my favorite things to do, and she does it so well where it's like it just blends seamlessly into the real world, and it doesn't create anything crazy or drama, and like these characters aren't having like breakdowns, but like they believe in the magic and what they're experiencing, so then you just believe that they're experiencing too, like you're experiencing it with them. And I think she just does a seamless job of making it like so normal characters, normal world, but there's just that element of whimsy to it, that little whimsical essence, as it were. And I think she does that really well. A lot of people said that this gives them fall vibes. I'm not tracking with that, but the apartment did make me want to get like a blue chair. A Robin's Egg blue chair. I need one now. I need one. Yeah, four stars. 4 stars for this one, for sure. 4.25. Again, you guys, I can't remember between this. I know which ones were 3 stars, and I know which ones were in the 4-star range, but do I remember which one was 4 stars versus 4.25? I don't, which is, you're like, Hannah, that's your one job in reviewing books on this blog. And I could have looked it up before I sat down to film this, but I didn't. So check out my Goodreads if you really want the specifics, but to really put it quite simply, these 2 were in the 4-star range. These 2 were in the 3-star range. Okay, thank you so much for checking out this reading vlog. I only have one more TBR and one more reading vlog before the end of the year, and that is crazy for me to say out loud, but it has been such a magical journey this year, getting back into creating videos and reading books and sharing with you guys. So thank you for being kind. For those of you watching, thank you for being kind and holding me in a gentle place and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Love you. Okay, see you later. Bye.